However, the first
Right.
team we are starting off with is probably the consensus number one pick, and it is the preseason number one pick, and that is South Carolina. They are the defending national champions, and they return much of their entire team from last season. National Player of the Year, Aaliyah Boston comes back alongside starters like Zia Cook and Bria Beal, Victoria Saxon. To be completely honest, Steve, anything short of a national championship for this team with Dawn Staley, I mean, it might be considered a disappointment. What's your thoughts on South Carolina?
Well, I think South Carolina is the new Baylor, the new UConn when they were in their groove, when they were at their apex. So I, when you have a player like Aaliyah Boston, first team All American, 3 years All SEC, both SEC player and SEC defensive team, National Player of the Year, it's hard not to have a good chance at repeating. For me, I think how the point guard position plays out is what's going to determine whether South Carolina repeats or not. I think Zia Cook, she's a special basketball player, and she's not afraid to do not the dirty work, but do whatever job that Dawn Staley is going to ask her to do. She came up and said, "Look, I want to be the point guard this year. We have a need there. I want to be the point guard." And where Staley might be hesitant to a certain degree to just have her exclusively play the point, that may be the stabilizing force that they would need to carry, let's say, into tournament play, and they can play around a little bit, during this season. Freshman Talaysia Cooper looked very good in an exhibition game. She had 11 points, 9 rebounds, 6 steals, 2 blocks. So she did a little bit of everything. I think you have to kind of ease her in, but certainly at the very least, she would be the sixth. I guess we can't call him sixth man, sixth person. 6-person rotation, however you want to, we don't want to offend anybody with this, but I think that's going to be her role to begin with. But if she can slide over to the point, and then Zia Cook can play in various situations, I think again, a repeat, it would not be a shock.
Not only a repeat for national champion, but could you see Aaliyah Boston repeating as the National Player of the Year? Like, I know that's something that doesn't happen too often in any sport because there is a high level of competition, but she just seems to be a clear favorite to do it again, Steve.
There are 2 players that were unanimous first team All-Americans, and it was Ms. Boston and it was Caitlin Clark of Iowa. As we're going to talk about a little bit later on when we discuss Iowa, I think Caitlin Clark might be the most exciting player to watch on the women's side at this particular point, but that's not saying that Aaliyah Boston is a subpar basketball player compared to Caitlin Clark. I just think Caitlin Clark is just that special. South Carolina is also going to basically return 3 experienced seniors in the front court. That is going to really help them when they get into conference play. I mean, all of the elite women's programs, and most of them we're talking about, are all going to play against each other at least once at some point in the early pre-conference schedule. But the SEC is loaded top to bottom, on the women's side. And I think having that experience, in the front court is going to help them dramatically, kind of weather the early challenges. And then once you get into conference play, some of the younger players kind of start assuming larger roles. And I think roles, that's what they're going to be going on. I think South Carolina is going to go on a roll. And I don't see anybody seriously challenging them in the SEC. There's some really good teams in the SEC, but I don't think anybody's going to seriously challenge them. It's a matter as to whether they have an unexpected injury or unexpected bad game in a tournament that would prevent them from repeating.
Yeah, I would not be shocked. I would actually be more shocked if we didn't see this team as a number 1 seed when we get to the tournament, and then we don't see them at least into the Final Four. I mean, this is a team that, like you said, returning so much that it's, if you're doing a prediction, and then there's just, you can't not put South Carolina in your your favorites for winning it all. And this team is just that good after what we saw last year from them. I mean, they really gave, I mean, UConn, it was good that they came back and they had a great year. We'll talk about UConn in a minute. But in that national championship game, South Carolina just completely ran them out of the building. And they're bringing basically everything back. So lots to talk about. Plenty of top players on that squad.